Narco. Some of you might think of this when you hear that word, or this, but in fact today I'm speaking of prescription drugs. By a show of hands, how many of you have consumed the following or some derivative of it? Xanax, Valium, Phentermine, Zoloft, Vicodin, Percocet, Ambien, oxycodone, Adderall, or Oxycontin. So most, if not all of you have, and when you took these drugs, they probably made you feel good. I know they did, because when I took Valium for a few days, I slept like a baby. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, a survey taken in 2016 showed that in the U.S., approximately 11.5 million people were misusing these prescription drugs. Of those 11.5 million people, 46 of these people are dying of prescription drug abuse daily. Now today, I want you to listen to the following statistics and information that I have gathered about this nationwide problem, how it is that many of these people get there, and what happens to them afterwards. Now, first, let's see some background information. In the 2016 report of the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the prescription drug industry revenue was $448 billion in sales alone. Yes, billion with a B in prescription drug sales. To put this in perspective, that amount is more than the net worth of the following: Beyonce, Jay-Z, Donald Trump, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, LeBron James, and Mark Cuban, all put together. Now, I want to remind you, one cannot just walk into Walmart and pick up a bottle of Vicodin. These medications legally require a medical prescription to be dispensed. According to the recently released edition of U.S. Pharmaceutical Industry, published by Status, a portal who uses over 22,500 sources when publishing U.S. pharmaceutical companies, make up approximately 45% of all pharmaceutical companies worldwide. By now you can see why we have such a problem with these prescription drugs. Now let me tell you that most of these patients do suffer from real problems. The problem is these patients with chronic illnesses are no longer seen as a patient, but instead as a dollar sign. To many doctors, medical offices, and pharmacies, when these patients are prescribed, they have to come in to an office to see a doctor. Then the patient goes over to a pharmacy to purchase their prescriptions. Now both places are getting paid about once, twice, maybe every 3 months, depending on the prescription and the illness. This leads me to a story I wanted to share about a man I recently met that for 4 years has been treated like a dollar sign instead of a person. Now, because of HIPAA laws, I cannot disclose private information, but I can give you sort of the overview of what happened to him. About 4 years ago, this man's wife dies. After his wife dies, he has back and knee surgery that he could not postpone. He was prescribed strong narcotics after his surgery in order to deal with the pain. These strong narcotics not only helped him deal with the pain of his back and knee surgery, but they also helped him deal with the pain of losing his wife. So what happens? He becomes an addict. About a year later, he chooses that he no longer wants to live like this when he was discharged from his pain management doctor, and most doctors would not see him. So he gets clean. About another year later, he's on his meds again, everything's good. Since he does live with a chronic illness, he does need prescriptions. So his doctor finally retires maybe 8 months to a year after he starts seeing him. So now we're in present time. He goes to a new doctor's office where I meet him, and he begins to tell us the story of what happened to him. We send him over to a pain management group. Now, this doctor would not see him because of his history. Although this man clearly was clean and was willing to take drug tests, was willing to change the medications he took to something that was not as strong or was not a narcotic, and he was willing to do just about anything to relieve his pain. So, since these doctors won't see him and he's going through the process that is the healthcare of the United States, where to see a doctor you spend a month on a waiting list, he goes through a period of withdrawal since he no longer has his prescriptions. He then comes into the office where I met him, and most of the people there are trying to help him, are trying to get him back on track. But unfortunately, this man still is not on his regular prescriptions since nobody will see him. Even though he's clean, even though his drug tests come up clean, even though he's doing just about anything, nobody will see him. Why? Because nobody believes him. Why? Because he was addicted to narcotics at one point in his life. Now, with this, I want to conclude and ask you to not become just another statistic for this big pharmaceutical companies. While prescription drugs are helpful, they're just as dangerous and can turn around and hurt you. Thank you.